Welcome back, travelers. In today's video, I'm hoping to delve into a lengthy discussion about the ideal video game Stargate as a franchise and us as a fandom very much deserve. So let's do this.
We're not going to hit it. We're going to dock with it.
Alright, so first I'm going to tell you my top 3 science fiction video games, so you may draw an early conclusion which aspects I hold the most dear about video gaming. So the number 1 science fiction video game on my list is Knights of the Old Republic 2: The Sith Lords. I think we can agree that it's quite a rare occasion when a video game over-exceeds the original source material, and I think that's exactly what happened here. The game was created by Obsidian, and the story was led by Chris Avellone. Or at least I think this is how to pronounce his name. The story is set 4,000 years before George Lucas's Battle of Yavin, which is crazy but reasonable, because then you can stumble upon existing characters. You play in a sandbox that's been established already, but then again, you can do interesting stuff. Take note, Amazon.
Each went to the president of MGM and said, you know, you have this thing called Stargate, it would make a great TV series.
I think the success of Knights of the Old Republic 2 is not necessarily because of the gameplay mechanics or the RPG elements that indeed lead to an epic conclusion, but the very, very smart storytelling and, of course, its very interesting characters.
A dead spot in the Force. An emptiness in which its will might be denied. I see the potential to see the Force die. Because I hate the Force. I hate that it seems to have a will. That it would control us to achieve some measure of balance. When countless lives are lost. She has brought truth, and you condemn it. The arrogance. As you would pass judgment on her, I have come to pass judgment on you all. Do you wish to feel the teachings born of the Mandalorian Wars?
So the first focal point I would like to add for a good Stargate game is basically smart storytelling and intriguing characters. Without that, none of SG-1, Atlantis or Universe would have worked. Basically, that's key for any Stargate installment if you think about it, so I think we can agree upon that.
I'm going through the gate. Boom! Look out! Where's Teal? You kids unlocked. Right here. Boom! Milky Way. Boom!
The second video game I would like to address here is Mass Effect 2. Oddly, this is also a sequel to a successful BioWare game. Anyways, I think Mass Effect 2 has very well balanced action and RPG elements, so if you haven't played it yet, I highly recommend doing so. So the second focal point I think should be well-balanced action and RPG elements. The third sci-fi game I wish to mention is Outer Worlds. It's basically the Fallout game set in space, with a number of planets you can visit and explore. It's not open world, but there's enough material and adventure that even its limitations don't bother you during the game. As a third focal point, I wouldn't add the FPS nature or genre of the game, but it's fun quests, without the overwhelming necessity to explore, but there's an option. And I think I would call these fun adventures. Basically, interesting quests, just explore, interact with the world, and it looks very, very nice. So now, because I told you my top 3 science fiction video games, now you got the gist of it, which type of games I like and which aspects in video gaming. Now you could tell me yours, of course. Just to summarize and quickly recap, we have established 3 main focal points that could make a good Stargate video game. These are smart storytelling and intriguing characters, well-balanced action and RPG elements, and of course fun quests and adventures. If you think about it, that's the very key for any good Stargate, let alone a Stargate video game.
I'm on Atlantis. Oh no, the Wraith are about to attack. I'm on Atlantis. I'm on Atlantis. I'm on Atlantis.
So now I'm going to tell you two sci-fi video games that are completely in line with these requirements, thus are the most suitable for a Stargate game. Oh boy. Surprisingly, none of my favorites made the cut, as they wouldn't make a good Stargate game. An ideal game would be something in the vein of Telltale's The Expanse and Star Trek Resurgence. Of course, many of you now can argue why I've picked these specific games, why I haven't mentioned the late Stargate Network. So, before you crucify me, allow me to elaborate. Let's see what these two games have in common, aside from set in space, of course. Both games are narrative-driven action-adventures, with an episodic structure as a TV series, and all of that with an overarching story. From The Expanse, I would like to highlight the possibility of returning characters. Karaji could reprise her role for the game, and that's really, really cool. That's something I think Stargate needs. There could be actors who reprise their role, even recurring or just guest star, up to the decision makers. From Resurgence, I would highlight that they actually managed to tell a good Star Trek story, which is special in this case because, Star Trek currently is something else.
We can't wait any longer. We have to fire.
Captain, they're almost out of there.
We need to act fast. Hold all fire! Get out of there, Petty Officer.
We're out! I have them on sensors. Tractor beam activating.
Locked on and ready to fire. Fire!
Resurgence, they expanded upon existing storylines of The Next Generation without destroying it or contradicting the law. So I think these are also key elements if you think about the Stargate game. So now I think you understand a bit more why I have picked these two specific sci-fi video games, and I think you understand that the genre, the style, the release, and the structure, the cost to produce, to buy, and the platform, the cross-platform compatibility are really, really important. And I think these kind of games, something in the vein of these, would make a perfect Stargate game. Naturally, when we're discussing Stargate video games, one must address the late Stargate Network. Shout out to Bryce Oss and all those amazing folk who worked on the project. I was really amazed by the game and very upset when it got taken down by MGM, and I was even more surprised that Stargate Timekeepers survived the Amazon MGM acquisition.
What are they doing?
I don't like the look of this.
I wish Stargate Network could be still in development. I wish Amazon MGM would support such fan projects rather than shutting them down. But again, we've seen similar cases with Star Wars, the Hyperion project, the first KOTOR remake that was an unfortunate casualty of Disney.
It looks gorgeous, and it looks like you're trying to escape from a ship that's breaking down, which is exactly what you're doing on the Endar Spire. So this is just a little bit of a taste of the footage, but the beauty of this video is it's just the start of the discussion. Our love for Star Wars surrounds and it binds us together.
And then there's other cases when a company embraces the friend project. For example, Valve did this with the Black Mesa project. My concern always was about Stargate Network is that Stargate is more than an FPS game. I think we can all agree. The game rather felt like a simulator than an FPS game. Of course, it was nowhere near finished, and since I have no idea what was planned or envisioned for the game, maybe one of you could reach out to me and tell me more, because I'm really interested and I really like the concept and the exploration part of it. It was very unfortunate, and I think it's crazy. I have my own concerns about Amazon. It does not correlate with most of your opinions, but that's another video. Alright, then since I've mentioned Stargate Timekeepers, I think it's only fair if we talk about that as well. My main criticism for Stargate Timekeepers is not the niche genre, the stealth genre, but the lack of professional storytelling and its very repetitive gameplay. It had a very troubled development, which I'm going to lay out to you right now, because that's only fair if we're talking about the game, that we talk about the circumstances in which it was developed. Here's a timeline of the development of Stargate Timekeepers. In early 2020, Slytherin signed a deal with MGM to make a Stargate game. The stealth genre is okay, fit for a Stargate game. If we had like multiple Stargate games, then this could be one of them. The sole Stargate game? Well, 18th of June 2020, Slytherin as a game publisher made a deal with the Polish Creative Forge to develop the game. Almost a year later, on May 11th, 2021, the top-down stealth game was announced by Slytherin and MGM for PC. So that's a PC exclusive, we exclude everyone else. 20-ish people worked on the game development in Warsaw, Poland, and there was 40 months of development planned for the game initially, which is, in my opinion, totally crazy because it's barely enough to develop a game, let alone test it or just properly release it. The end of development was slated to November 2021. They had a December release date in mind. So that's totally crazy if you want to release a good game. Naturally, Slytherin and MGM, or possibly both parties, weren't content with the state of the game back in December 2021, naturally, and the first beta tests were postponed for spring 2022 with a summer 22 release date. That was more like it. So the game was delayed, then Amazon Studios entered the game, so to say, by purchasing MGM in March 2022. It's literally a miracle that Stargate Timekeepers survived the MGM acquisition. Slytherin and Creative Forge were merged into Slytherin Poland. They basically became the new developer of Stargate Timekeepers, but it was the same group with the resources of Slytherin included. They just merged their resources. Again, there's not much to know about, but I try to include some interesting facts here. So in early 2023, Slytherin announced the May beta with a possible July release date. The game was nowhere near ready. In July 2023, the deal got renegotiated. Slytherin has announced that their plan is to release the game in 2 parts, which is understandable to release at least first half of the game relatively on time, because otherwise they would lose the Stargate license perhaps, or the money that comes with it. The budget for Stargate Timekeepers, as far as I know, was relatively low. The game cost 120,000 euros, as indicated in my source documents, which you may see here. Again, I'm no rumor channel, but I think the game could cost more because of the delayed and troubled development, but that's That's one document I can just show you. Closed beta test started late August 2023 and concluded in early December for the first half of the game. The plan was to release Stargate Timekeepers Part 1 on the December 12th date, but there was a slight delay to January the 23rd, 2024. Now you may understand my skepticism when there were talks of 2021 December release date, when in reality they couldn't deliver the full game but the first half only 2 years later. So I think it's understandable. I'm not sure why the troubled development, of course. Creative Forge merging and the Amazon MGM acquisition is also a considerable aspect here. But ultimately Slytherin released the second half of the game as well on October 23rd, 2024. Release logs of the final game clearly indicate that the game was created in collaboration with Amazon MGM Studios, consumer products and interactive licensing. You know, the fine folk at Amazon, led by Jamie Campbell, who we can thank for all these amazing Stargate merchandise. I'm not sure how many of you played the game. My question to you is, how many of you are interested in the story itself? The Stargate Timekeeper story. Maybe I could do a video on that. If you do plan to play the game, okay, I did too, and as an RTS, the stealth, top-down stealth game, it's okay, but I must warn you, story-wise, there's considerable amount of cut content. Evidence clearly suggests that there were several iterations of the game throughout the many years of development, and at this point I'm unsure which party is responsible for cutting that much amount of content. And by story-wise I mean, of course, Robert Brown, the writer of Stargate Timekeepers. Maybe he wrote a very weak story and he has a lack of understanding of Stargate. Or maybe Robert Brown did a good job writing a good story, but then Slytherin Poland couldn't deliver a game around the story. Or perhaps it's Amazon MGM Studios who intervened. I have no information on that. Maybe both parties are responsible in some way. If you've played but don't understand the story still, then I will tell you as far as I understand the story. There's so much cut content that it's relatively hard to comprehend. So there's that. Anyways, I'm really glad we could talk about Stargate video gaming. I hope you enjoyed this video and do understand my take on why I think these video games would make a good Stargate game. If you don't agree with me, please let me know that as well. But if you express your opinion, please make sure to elaborate and maybe we can discuss in the comments section below. Also let me know if you wish me to do a video about Stargate Timekeepers story. I think we can all agree upon that there are room for multiple Stargate projects, same as with the television series of course, so I'm really hoping for more, and if there's more I hope Amazon MGM will consider the Telltale-like episodic storytelling, the potential that type of game holds for us all. So that's it for today. I hope to see you in the next video as well. Cheers!